You're listening to Thunder and Lightning on SuperTalk Mississippi, covering Mississippi State sports like nobody else. With Sports Talk Mississippi's Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk of On3 Sports. Now get ready for Thunder and Lightning.
This is Thunder and Lightning here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Brian Hadad and Robbie Faulk here with you on a Thursday morning. Thanks for joining us here at supertalk.fm or wherever it is that you get podcasts from. Appreciate you guys out there, our great listeners, especially our servicemen and women out there taking care of us. Want to thank our sponsors over at Strange Brew Coffee House and Churn and Spoon Ice Cream. Start your day the right way with a trip to the drive-thru over at Strange Brew Coffee House here in Starkville or at Brupolo over in Tupelo. It'd be a little weird, Robbie, if Brupolo was in Aints.
That would be really weird. Aints.
I'm doing my best on
that. A-I-N-T-S?
A-N-S-E.
Ains.
I don't know.
Gosh, here we go again.
I don't know.
Here we go again.
We have gotten the verification that it is, in fact, Hurricane Mississippi, though.
Just absolutely ridiculous. Just ridiculous.
It's not spelled.
It's hurricane. Do you call it a hurricane?
Haley Barber does, former governor of this state. But other than that, no, I call it
there's
hurricane.
A lot of things. There's a lot of things that he pronounces. It's not probably not.
Imagine if I went down to Pat O'Brien's on off of Bourbon Street and it was like, "Hey, can I get one of them hurricanes?" I don't think they would laugh at me. It's crazy.
That is just like I said, diabolical. But you're calling it a hurricane.
Give a shout out here. This is the kind of customer service we're dealing here with Shane Reed and the guys at Strange Brew. So my daughter Emily enjoys a beverage at, we'll just call it a competing coffee chain, right? And so I texted Shane and I was like, "Hey, I'm tired of going there. Can you create this? Can you do it? Can you do it better?" He's like, "I absolutely can." So available today, starting today at Strange Brew and at Brupolo, you can enjoy M's Afternoon Refresher. It is a strawberry lemonade with fresh strawberries in it. It's outstanding. Go check it out. And, it's named after my daughter. So now she and I are tied on food items named after us.
We can't get the Thunder and Lightning ice cream.
I got to be honest with you. I do love you, but my children are more precious to me. If I had to pick one, I got to go with the kids.
No, I'm just saying, why can't we have both?
I mean, I don't know.
I'm not saying you have to pick. I mean, you're not in charge of this. Shane's in charge.
I'm just saying.
You think you have too much power here. This isn't your business. This is Shane Reed's business.
You see this?
It didn't work for the ice cream.
This is where I haven't tried. I haven't really pushed for that.
Yeah, we pushed it for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm just saying that. But this is where the power lies, as you know.
No.
So you got to remember where you are in the pecking order, brother.
I've told you this before. My responsibility on the show is to keep you about here. Level head.
Where
we can't get up here.
I want to be up here, but
when we start getting up here, that's not good. We got to stay here.
And so when I go home, I'm down here.
That's true.
Yeah, you think you're keeping me down. You actually bring me back up.
I do bring you up, but not we don't bust through the ceiling. There's a glass ceiling there.
Yeah.
There's a brass ring, and you gotta take it.
Call me fat, damn it. All right. The Mississippi Beef Council wants to remind you that beef, it's what's for dinner. If you're cooking out this weekend, nothing beats the sizzle of beef on the grill. And, of course, now is the time where everybody's firing up the grill out there in the left field lounge. If you are, you want to put some beef on the grill. You'll be the envy of the lounge when they smell that beefy aroma wafting through the outfield. So grab some.
We make a stop through there many times throughout the year to get some.
We will be doing that. I'll just go ahead. Here are some guarantees for Mississippi State baseball. Home runs will be hit, games will be won, and Hadad and Robbie will go through the lounge and get some food.
Correct.
This is the way it is.
100%.
Beef, it's what's for dinner. Thanks to our friends at the Mississippi Beef Council. College Corner, collegecornerstore.com is the place to find the maroon and white merchandise that you're looking for. I know you're looking for new state stuff. Everybody is. It's baseball season. You want to get some new M over S stuff. They've got it at College Corner. 2 locations to serve you in the Jackson area. Ridgeland by Fleet Feet, Flowwood by the Half Shell, or you can shop online, collegecornerstore.com. Restaurant Tyler, Starkville's flagship restaurant. 4 o'clock first pitch on Friday means you can make a Valentine's dinner at Restaurant Tyler. But if you can't make it on Valentine's, any day is a great day to go to Restaurant Tyler for lunch, for dinner, and of course on Sunday, the best brunch in the city of Starkville. Whenever you're hungry and you're thinking, I want something different, I want something special, I want something great, it's easy to get to it. Just go to Restaurant Tyler and enjoy a fantastic meal each and every time. Priority One Bank has 16 locations throughout central Mississippi. You know that if you've listened to this podcast for long enough. What you might not know, and you should know, because again, I bring it up all the time, is that the level of service at Priority One Bank different than what you're getting at those big corporate banks right now. Now, you're still getting the same amount of financial flexibility and power and services that you need, but what you're also getting is a friendly voice on the other end of the phone when you make a call about your money. It's not going to be like it is with those other banks. It's a different situation because they're a small town community bank that has big time financial power. That's the kind of difference we're talking about here with Priority One Bank. Let Priority One Bank make you their priority. Getting kind of tired. It's been a long since kickoff of the football. It's been a kind of long year.
Do you want to turn this into a wrestling podcast?
I texted Brandon Walker last night. I was like, "What other jobs are out there? Like what are we doing?" He's like, "I don't know, bullet tester." It's like, what does that say?
I have been thinking lately, like maybe I need to start doing some side adventures. I'm gonna start doing some true crime podcasts. Maybe like I've talked about this before.
We should create a version of the Yak where it's like me and you. We get Stefan, we get Sock, we get Theo, Tyler, Ben. We basically get our group text, and we just shoot the breeze for an hour.
I need something. I need something else
about anything.
I can continue to do this.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine continuing to go through this.
Yeah.
I've got to have something that I can escape Mississippi State from. I mean, listen, love my job to death. You and I are blessed to be able to do this.
Absolutely, we are.
To cover sports. We love sports. And the times are great. It is so awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But having to do this constantly when Mississippi State continues to do what they do in like every sport. And I had a conversation with Sam Sklar the other day about this. Sam is a Michigan State guy. So, it doesn't really affect him whether Mississippi State wins or loses. He's just doing his job.
Yeah.
I was telling him, I was like, I feel like I can watch a ball game. I can dissect it fairly, down the middle. I can report fairly down the middle regardless. But it is very difficult covering a team that you grew up cheering for.
Mm-hmm.
It is incredibly difficult. It's very hard for you to completely push away, what's been inside of your system for me it was 25 years or whatever.
Right.
And now I've been in this for 10 years. I'm fairly hardened to it. I'm fairly, it doesn't bother me as much, but it does wear on you, man. When you constantly see this, and for Mississippi State this year, they've had so many chances to have that big win inside the hump. I cannot remember a year where there's been so many big games at the hump. 04 had a big year, but I don't even think that was as big as what this one's been. 04 they had LSU was pretty good, Alabama, Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
This year you've seen already 3 top 10 teams. You've got another one coming in next Tuesday, and State has the only big win they have at home right now is Ole Miss, and that was a big win, but they've swung and missed on everybody else.
What's caught my attention? What's caught my attention is that since State they started off 2-0, right? They destroyed South Carolina, and then it got dicey for a minute there, but for basically the entire game they were in control against Vanderbilt.
That was a really good win.
Since then, they're 3-6. All 6 losses have either been heartbreakers or they've gotten run off the court. And it's become run off the court. It's become more of a theme.
Not even competitive.
All 3 wins have been grinded out to the end. Nothing comes easy. Just painful games. And that's the one thing I've noticed about State over these past few weeks is that it feels like State has to work so hard to get the ball in the bucket. And then they come down to the other end, and it's just 2 passes, and there's an open 3-pointer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of the same thing that happened in football. We talked about it quite a bit that, State would put together a 12-play, 78-yard drive where they had to convert a couple of 3rd and longs, and they would get a touchdown. And then the other team, they'd kick off, and it was 3 plays, 74 yards, touchdown, minute and 12 off the clock. And it's like, what is the point of this? And this team at this point, I've just resigned myself that they will be one and done in the tournament again. And
they made it at this point.
I think they'll be okay. I think they.
Well, we hope.
I mean, it is definitely we hope. I mean, I think, and we hope are kind of the same thing.
What confidence do you have that they're like they're looking at the rest of the schedule? What's your confidence level?
Well, the fact that they were able to beat Georgia on the road gives me some confidence that when they play Texas, Oklahoma, LSU, Arkansas, they can win those 4. And that would be 9 if they could do that. And certainly
Arkansas going to be tough.
It's going to be tough, but we'll see. It certainly can get 8, and 8 will be enough. 8 will be enough.
Well, here's what I'll say, Brian. Here's what I'll say. My opinion has changed on this team since the Missouri game, and especially, I guess, since last night. I thought after the Missouri game they would bounce back, but I think last night changed my opinion on this team. I'm not like for sure on anything because say they go to Ole Miss this weekend and get blown out, which I think is a possibility.
Very high possibility right now. The way
you come home to play Texas A&M, which is a very mentally tough and physically tough team.
Yes.
And you lose to them.
Yes.
You're looking at 3 straight losses at that point and have not played well since the first 2 games of the conference schedule. Mm-hmm. Who feels confident going to Oklahoma? Who feels confident? Then you go on the road to Alabama and get your brains beat in.
Yeah.
And then you're looking at those last 3 games and you're saying, oh, my gosh, at that point, you're probably a 10 seed.
You're where you've been the past 2 years under Jans going into the final 2 weeks of the season. Like, got to win some games.
With less confidence because those teams were playing better basketball this stage. So my opinion on this team has completely changed because I've always thought Chris Jan's teams are going to be tough. Chris Jan's teams mentally and physically, they're going to be tough. They're going to be able to get through tough times. Then we see these last 2 games, and they've just gotten embarrassed against Missouri and Florida. Mm-hmm. And they haven't shown that mental and physical toughness. It's something about this roster. It's something about the transfers that were brought in or whatever. This group just isn't Chris Jan's cup of tea. I don't see it. I don't see what I've seen the last 2 years.
You're correct about the mental toughness of this team, and they don't play with that same hair on fire attitude that the team has played with the past couple of years. And I don't know if that's a Jans thing or if he just did he just misevaluate a bunch of guys? I mean, it's obvious that he did, right? He misevaluated Kanye Clary. He misevaluated Andrew Taylor the year before. I think with Nwoko, I see the talent, but this is a guy that he can't be counted upon to play 20 minutes a game because he's that out of shape. Well, the other problem I have with that is that he's been here since what? Last April? How is he not in shape yet?
At this point.
How's he not in shape yet? That doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Kugel, I think Kugel's just mentally is just not all there in terms of what he can give you on the court each and every night. And the talent is there, but he just doesn't play with that. He doesn't play with that same fire. And then you have Cam Matthews, who against Kentucky, he looked like a guy who could be a draft pick. Like he could be a lottery pick the way he played. That game broke Mississippi State. It just broke them. Like if they won that game, I think if they had beaten Kentucky, they'd probably be what are they right now? They're 5-6. I think they'd be something like 8-3. if they had beaten Kentucky. But
I can see it.
But that game just took everything that they had, and they lost. And Cam Matthews has not played a great game since then. Hubbard, had a couple, 3 good games in a row. Then last night, kind of back to his old self. Keyshawn Murphy.
I thought Hubbard was good in the second half.
He was better, but I mean, I think how much is once Florida was up 17 points, how much of it really,
But again, 6 assists, 1 turnover.
Yeah.
And he was 4 for 8 from 3 in the second half. I didn't look at his stat line and think he played terrible. And in the first half, he wasn't great.
I can't. Go ahead.
We're putting way too much on Hubbard's shoulders, and that's the problem.
Yeah,
is you're not getting Claudio Harris is a no-show every game. RJ Melendez has done nothing since Vanderbilt. Nwoko, you get good spurts from him. I don't think post play is really a huge issue for Mississippi State.
Right.
It's the guards and we all said before the season, guard play is going to be Mississippi State's strength. They have so much talent there, they can't screw this up. And Kugel disappears. He might get 10 points, but he's not doing much for you. The last 4 or 5 games, it's Josh Hubbard and Keyshawn Murphy and nobody else. You have nothing from anybody else in this lineup offensively. And that to me is the biggest issue with this team is you said before the season, and that when I say you, I mean pretty much everybody that followed Mississippi State, and it starts with Chris Jans. They were going to sacrifice some things on the defensive end, but the offense was going to be so much better. Well, the offense stinks. It's not good. And so now you don't play good defense and you don't play good offense, and this is what you get. I think what we need to see is Chris Jans just be Chris Jans. Chris Jans is just going to have to recruit his kind of guys. They're going to have to play his style of play, and you hope some of those guys have, some offensive prowess about them too. But I would rather this team be something than every now and then we get this and every now and again we get that.
Last year
I think this team needs to be what it is. It needs to be when you play Chris Jan's teams, you are going to leave bruised and bloodied, and they are going to absolutely wear you out. And that's what you need to see. If they're going to shoot terrible from 3, at least be able to defend it.
Yeah.
Right now they can't do it either.
And the comment I made on the pod last night was, if you're going to give up easy buckets, I'd rather they'd be 2s than 3s. If you're saying that you got to double team the post every time because you think you're going to give up some easy buckets there, give up an easy 2 rather than letting the double team happen and then you're giving up an easy 3. In this day and age of college basketball, those shots are makeable. Those guys, that just too many teams have too many guys that can make shots from the perimeter. So if you're going to concede an easy bucket one way or other, concede the one that gets you less points. Is how I look at it.
Everybody hits the wide open shots except Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Mississippi State throws line drives that miss the whole rim when they're wide open. It is a phenomenon, man. 3 years now, this has happened under Chris Jans. It's crazy.
And what happened last night is almost inexplicable. They played so poorly in the first half. I mean, they didn't shoot the ball well at all, and somehow took a lead into the locker room. Florida's down 2 of its top 3 players. You think, they got a real chance here, again, the thing I would have said was, they were missing 2 players, but at the end of the season, all that matters is where that win is on the column.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, they give up a 17-0 run, I think is what it was, to start the second half. You talk about, again, we were talking about mental toughness. That's something that a year ago would have been impossible. State would have come out in the second half a year ago and just ground Florida into ground beef, and there had been nothing left. Instead, it was absolute massacre. The last night is one of the most disheartening basketball games we've seen in the Chris Jans era. To watch his team just absolutely get manhandled in the second half after really having, playing hard and getting that lead into the locker room. I was amazed at how poorly they played in the second half, and I think Chris Jans was as well.
Yeah. The State should not give up a 17 run to anyone in the country.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's Auburn, Duke, Florida, whoever. They should not give up a 17-0 run. But this is what this team does. They don't score for long periods of times against these teams.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the Tennessee game? They just could not score. And when you can't score and you can't stop somebody, that's I would say that's a pretty bad situation.
Yeah.
And that's what happened is they just in this first 10 minutes or so that they couldn't score or stop Florida. They were turning the ball over, bad turnovers, couldn't make shots. I think the league got up to 24 points. It just was inexcusable, man, like the way that played out. But I kind of saw that coming in the first half. You know, when you watch the first half and State defended Florida, I think, fairly well. Florida was struggling to hit shots. State turned them over a little bit. We're killing them on the boards. I think they were up by 10 on the boards in the first half, and they didn't take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Being up by 1 was a loss for Mississippi State. Because
and if you were at that game, Robbie, and I know you weren't because you were covering high school, I was there, and I'm like, I felt like they were down 10. Like, yeah. I looked at Paul Jones, I was like, I cannot believe they're winning. They should not be winning.
It did not feel like they were winning the ball game.
But they were, and then you come out in the second half, and then it was just – it literally looked like two different teams from Florida. The team in Florida played in the first half was not the same team in the second half. Second team couldn't miss.
That was one of those things, like, it played out a lot like I thought it could in the first half for Florida. They were rusty. They were flying high from that ball game against Auburn. This was the time to get them. State should have jumped out in front by 10 or 15 points and have them shell-shocked. Todd Golden calling timeout left and right and trying to get control of his team. That's what a good team would have done last night. A good team would have smelt the blood whenever Condon went down with an injury and attacked.
Yeah.
And State couldn't do it. They were constantly getting stops and then coming in on the other end and missing wide open shots. They just could never hit that big shot that would allow them to get some distance. That was a game that you should have been up 10 or 12 points at the half.
Yeah.
And instead, it's a 1-point game, and State went in the locker room kind of looking dejected. The crowd wasn't really in it, from what I can tell. Empty seats everywhere. I mean, the fan base knew what was coming. You could sense it all day long. It just wasn't a game people were excited about. The team obviously wasn't excited about it. They're not showing up for these games. So I think people were just kind of like, they're just starting to fall off the bandwagon again. It's already a fan base that's just teetering on the edge at all times when it comes to basketball. And it's waiting for an excuse to not follow it. And
you mentioned it earlier. I mean, you've lost 4 games at home this year in conference play. And we've talked all the time about how it's so tough to win on the road. It's so tough to win on the road. It's not at Mississippi State. And that's not due to the fact that the crowds have not been good. It's not like your teams are coming in here and playing in front of 2,500 people and it's just an easy, an easy job. The fans have done their job. They've done their part. And yet on the other side, State cannot get – and these are all wins that, would be signature wins. If you had beaten Kentucky, the excitement level would have been unbelievable. If you had beaten Alabama, I just don't know where the disconnect is here. I don't know where it went wrong for Chris Jans, especially when you look back through non-conference play. The way they handled Pitt, the way they went up to Memphis and were absolutely dominant. They played so well throughout that time. And I know non-conference is not is going to be easier than conference play. I get that, but I never watching them when they beat Pitt by whatever, it was like 30 some odd points. It never occurred to me that there would be 2 games at the hump where they would lose by these margins and be dominated the way they are. So
it looked like the hump was just going to be a
fortress
torture chamber for people, but now it's like they love coming in there. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know where it went wrong because we can't say it's we got to stop with the Kanye Clary stuff.
Yeah, it's not
Kanye Clary's been out since the Butler game in game 7 or whatever it was. Mississippi State's had this roster intact during this entire stretch, and they just haven't gotten it done. So I don't know. I have no clue where the problem lies, but there's a problem.
There's a problem. That's the main thing we have to take away from this. Is there's an issue. Ole Miss, we're recording on a Wednesday afternoon. Ole Miss plays South Carolina tonight. They're going to get the win. They're going to be a very confident team. That's going to be a team that's going to smell some blood in the water when it comes to Mississippi State. Their fans are going. It's going to be a hostile crowd at the Pavilion. I feel like that's going to get ugly. I'll just be honest with you. I think that's going to be one of those where we look up at the first media timeout and it's already like 12-2 or something like that, and maybe Jans has to call a timeout early or something, and just take it from there. But I got a bad feeling about the Pavilion this weekend. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, let's move into the rest of the show. That's brought to you by our friends over at Two Brothers Smoked Meats in the heart of the Cotton District. We love Two Brothers. Robbie, that makes us feel better, right? Right?
Two Brothers does make me. I like to eat my feelings. Two Brothers does make me feel better.
Good.
There's no doubt.
Very good to know. Well, perhaps we should make a trip there very soon because we need it. And you can use it too. So if you're going to be in Starkville this weekend for baseball, plenty of time to get to Two Brothers and enjoy a great meal. Or if you didn't get to the older brother during the fall, now's the time to do it. Check out Starkville's best new restaurant and enjoy a fancy sandwich at the older brother or at Two Brothers Smoked Meats in the heart of the Cotton District. Great products, great service. Every business wants to promise that to you. They deliver it to you at Advantage Business Systems. That's what they've been doing for 50 years.
50.
It's fine. That's what I anticipated that.
It's kind of turning into my tell 'em Faulk. It's like it just depends on my mood.
Depends on the mood. Yeah, that's fine. When you are looking for technology at your business, the place to go is Advantage Business Systems. That's what they've been doing for 50 years, and because they are the best at it. And they deliver not only great products, but they deliver the service after the sale that everybody in this business needs. When you buy a copier, you're buying that knowing, hey, one day that thing is going to have a problem. Who can I call to get it fixed? You got to have a name you can trust. You can trust Advantage Business Systems. 601-362-9192. Or you can visit them online at absms.com. Find out how Advantage Business Systems will help your business do business. If you're going to be in Starkville this weekend, a trip to Maroon & Co. is a must-do. You need to head over there and check out their incredible selection of Mississippi State gear. If you're looking for new gear for baseball, the M/S, they've got it at Maroon & Co., along with all the logos that you want. They are also, as we've said many times, the official provider for the Bulldog Initiative. So you want to wear the stuff the coaches wear, you get that only at Maroon & Co. Use our promo code Thunder15, 15% off your purchase. You can use that in-store or online at maroonandco.com and save some money. Before you go to the next game here in Starkville, make sure you make a trip to Maroon & Co. All right, baseball this weekend. Starting rotation out there. Starting lineup. So I want to talk to you about this because they were getting – Richard and Borky were getting on me, man. Apparently, every year, Bianco at the first, the week of press conference, just hands here's the lineup. This is what our first day starting lineup is. Are we derelict in our duty to not find that out?
I mean, we asked basically every question we could on Monday about the lineup. We just didn't ask what the order was. I don't know how common that is for a coach to give out the lineup early on in the week. That I've never
experienced. It is every year thing with Bianco.
We never had that with Canizero. We never had that with Owen.
No,
I don't ever remember that. I mean, that's awesome, but I just don't like. I've put out a couple of articles on my thoughts on the lineup.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people who just we'll just find out on opening day. Was it?
Yeah, I just can't I would never just so coach, game one starting lineup. Do you have it?
Yeah, I don't expect a coach to do that on Monday.
So I think what we're learning here is that Bianco's the outlier. It's not us, them. Okay, I wanted to be sure. What are your, as we go into the 48 hours from first pitch now, or however many now? What are your thoughts going into this season? What's the first thought you have when I say Mississippi State baseball 2025?
Yeah, just I would say really it's optimism. And I feel like that's the case every preseason. I mean, you come into preseason, everybody's got a blank slate, and you have an opportunity to.
It wasn't for me last year. I'll go ahead and tell you.
Me neither. I mean, I think we were on the same page.
Yeah,
we were kind of in wait and see mode, and
I was in full. They're not going to be good mode, but
we didn't see anything until SEC play. Really,
going into SEC play last year, I was convinced I was right. I was like, this team's not good at all.
Yeah, it kind of played out not as extreme as 2016, but kind of similar to it.
Yeah.
In that they weren't very good in non-conference play after being really bad the year before. And then they ended up being a
really good conference team, yeah.
Yeah. But I think for this team, like I think about it and I think about all the things that Chris Lemonis has brought up since we started talking to him in the fall. And he is really hammering home taking care of these opportunities they have in front of them that are basically, you know, you go into the ball game and everybody thinks you're going to win, you need to win it.
Yeah.
If you're projected to win, there's going to be some times where you slip up or whatever, but these midweek games and these non-conference weekends against these teams that are not very good, you can't have any slip-ups.
Right.
And that's when you're wanting to do what you want to do, and that's to get to Omaha, the best road to Omaha for Mississippi State is through Starkville.
Yes.
It's staying at home. This stadium has sat empty, collecting dust and spiders and bird nests and all that since 2022. There's been no baseball played in June inside of that stadium, and it needs to be used. Right after the regular season, it needs to be used for more than just concerts and things like that. So you built this stadium for a reason. You need to take care of business and do what you got to do so that you're sitting inside that stadium with a chance to go to a super regional and to Omaha every single year. You should be in that area every single year that you're playing. That's the goal. And if you get to Omaha, it takes a little bit of luck. But I've always said being in position to be in a super regional, to host a super regional, that's the expectation at Mississippi State. I know the goal is always Omaha and all that, but that always there's a lot of things that go into that.
I think
but
if
Mississippi
you say
State,
that your goal is to host, that you're saying your goal is Omaha.
Yeah. Because Omaha, like at the end of the day, it's like it's literally like going to the Elite Eight. But to me, Omaha is almost like a Final Four. That's the
perception
end,
thing.
That's the final end game. And to go to a Final Four, you got to have things fall your way. You got to have the right matchups. But being in position, getting to the Sweet 16, that's getting to a super regional. Mississippi State should routinely be in the conversation, in position to get to a super regional, get to Omaha.
Agreed. So we got a question yesterday on the rumblings, and I said we would save it for today as kind of a baseball preview, but it came to us from Walking Bully. So he gave some over-unders. So we'll start at the bottom here, and we'll work our way up. So he asked about will this team be over-under on ERA of 4.50? Last year, ERA was 4.17.
I'm going to say I'll say under.
All right, so that
I don't know if they'll be
a good number.
I don't think they'll be as good as last year, but I think they can be around that. I think they can be 4.4.
So here's an interesting stat. Last year, there were 5 teams under 5. Everybody else was over 5. Texas A&M, Arkansas, Tennessee, Mississippi State, LSU. Probably not a coincidence. Those were 5 of the better teams in the conference. You look at who was really good and over 5, Kentucky. Florida. Well, I mean, remember Florida last year in the regular season was not good.
They were bad.
Yeah, they finished 36-30. They just barely made the postseason. They actually were the lowest, or the highest, I should say, ERA in the conference. They were over 6.
Yeah, they just overcame that, and they actually.
If you're 4.5 or under, you're in good shape, and I think State can get there. Yeah, I agree with that. All right, so then he also has 969 field percentage.
Nice.
Okay. So last year's State's fielding percentage was 980. Actually, second in the conference a season ago.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be as good defensively, but I still think they'll be 270, over 270.
970.
I mean, 970.
I'd say, buddy, if they're 270, we're in.
I was thinking batting average. No, 970. And I think the biggest issue is going to be at third base. I just don't think that that's going to be a good situation. I think you're going to be going through the same stuff you've gone through in the past few years, and Logan Kohler kind of ended a little bit of that.
Mm-hmm.
But they might have to figure something else out at third. I don't know. I've seen a couple scrimmages. I just don't know if Ace Reese is going to be able to do that consistently.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, Chris Lemonis has shown in the past that he's willing to make big changes.
Yeah.
I think that you probably move a second baseman to third base.
Yeah.
Or
Garrick Fry could
or Garrick Fry.
Yeah. So we'll see. So I'm still thinking about a 270 fielding percentage. So the Bulldogs with their 48th error of the game.
Yeah, no, it'd be like if you were playing a video game and you just set all the sliders down.
Yeah, just way down.
Yeah.
Every ball gets booted. Gosh, that'd be hilarious.
But I think they're going to be really solid in the middle infield.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter Hines has become a really good defensive first baseman. Center field should be solid. I don't have a whole lot of issues with the corner outfield positions with the projections we're seeing there. And I think defensive catching is going to be good too. So they should be pretty solid at most positions.
All right. 850 team OPS. OPS last year was if I did the math right, 825.
Ooh, I mean, I feel like this team's going to have a much better approach.
Okay.
Well, I'll say over.
Okay. They don't have OPS is not a stat that the SEC makes available. But
yeah, I think you can find those advanced metrics.
I mean, I can do the math. I mean, Tennessee was over 1,000. Georgia was over 1,000 or over 1 point.
One of the best,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Best players in baseball.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Condon alone was probably like 1.5 if I had to go back and look.
Yeah.
All right. Team batting average, 280 or above. State last year hit exactly 280.
They'll be above that.
Okay. You're confident in batting order.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be I feel like it's just going to be a much better hitting group 1 through 9. Mm-hmm. But you think about the holes they had in that lineup last year, especially late in the year. Like you had David Mershon getting on base, Bryce Chance was consistently on base, and then it was like a black hole in the middle if Connor Hyzak wasn't there. And the bottom of the lineup was not consistent enough either. So I just feel like it's just going to be a more well-rounded lineup this year.
Okay. And last but not least, 40 wins. I will tell you this, and I said it the other day.
For the regular season or the
regular season. If you gave this schedule to Tennessee or Texas A&M this year, I would tell you they're probably going to go something like 44 and 6 or 44 and 10, something like that. 44 and 12. So
State won 36 games last year in the regular season.
I think that's correct.
35 or 36.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look. They won 17 in conference. So, I mean, this conference schedule makes me think they can win 18. And then it's just a question of not giving away games in the mid. I mean, they should have had 5 or 6 more wins last year.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to say under. I'm just going to play. I'm going to bridge I'm going to hedge my bets there. But the potential is there because this schedule is so manageable.
Yeah, I'm going to say under too, just because this team the last few years has just had that knack for dropping those midweek games, stuff like that. I mean, you're going to have to get up to probably, I would say 19, 20 wins in SEC play in the regular season, which is possible with the schedule that they have. But I'll say 38. But like you, it would not shock me if they're over 40 because I think there's some games in there that's going to go one way or the other.
Yeah. We shall see. First pitch.
I'm higher on this team probably more than I should be. I mean, we have no proof that they're going to be really good. It's just
I'm just low as it is, man. I can't buy into anything right now.
I can't be upset about that.
No.
I just, for whatever reason, I feel like I guess I'm just giving Justin Parker a lot of credit, and I just have this idea in my head that we saw miracles done with Tyson Harden and Tyler Davis last year. And, Brooks Auger was a different looking pitcher when he came back from injury. And Kyle Steven was significantly better than he was at Purdue. And Durangelo made a jump. I just feel like everybody's going to get better on the mound. I don't know what that means. I don't know what roles are going to take place or whatever, but I just feel like everybody's going to be elevated there. And I'm giving a lot of credit to the offense too. Like, I just feel like that's going to be a better group. So maybe I'm a little too optimistic. I promise you, I will let you know early if that changes.
See,
my opinion will change quickly if that goes
last
south.
year, I was so convinced. I remember I did an interview with T-Bob Hebert down in Baton Rouge the week of the first series, right? They played LSU. They'd already lost 6 games, and I was like, T-Bob, I just don't think this team's any good. And I think LSU's going to come in here and probably take the series and likely sweep. And, I don't know how long the rope is going to be for Lamonis. And then State takes 2 out of 3, and they're just kind of off from there. They should have, when you go back and look through last year, should have had the series at Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Should have had the series at Arkansas. Should have had the series at Ole Miss. They could have easily been a 20-win team. And
they could have swept. They very easily could have swept Florida and Arkansas.
Yes.
I know Arkansas won big on Sunday, but State was in control in that game.
Yeah. So, I'm just going to watch the games, and I'll let you know in April what I think about this team. For real. I'm going to let a lot happen before I make any definitive statements on this team.
That's probably the way to go.
All right. Tomorrow's show, Mississippi State Ole Miss. Obviously, the big thing to talk about, basketball, but we will do a little bit more baseball as well. Guys, have a great Thursday. We'll be back with you on Friday. For Robbie Faulk, I'm Brian Hadad. Thanks for listening to Thunder and Lightning here on SuperTalk, Mississippi.